You're watching HNNCast with Space Rogue on the Hacker News Network.
HNN is sponsored by Astaro, simplifying security. Become a sponsor. Email sales@hackernews.com.
This is Space Rogue for the Hacker News Network, and this is HNNCast for the second week of February 2010. We have lots of news this week, including a breach at payroll processor Ceridian, Google partnering with the NSA, Operation Titstorm, and an interview with Mudge. But first, our top story. BlackHawk Safety Net, located at 3800hk.com, a Chinese-based website that provided Trojan horse software and lessons in cyber attack techniques, had over 12,000 paid subscribers and another 125,000 free members before Chinese authorities took the site down last November. However, news of the bust was only recently released. Police in Hubei province arrested 3 people suspected of running BlackHawk Safety Net and seized 9 servers, 5 computers, and a car during the raid. Chinese officials are now pointing to this takedown as proof they are tough on cybercrime, probably in response to Google's accusations that they weren't. In reality, the takedown of BlackHawk Safety Net was most likely in retaliation for massive DDoS attacks against a Chinese gaming site that occurred in May of last year. The malware used in those attacks was found to have been distributed by BlackHawk Safety Net. So it seems to be that the rule in China is do whatever you want, just don't do it inside China. Former member of Loft Heavy Industries, Mudge, aka Peter Zatko, who once testified in front of Congress that he and his compatriots could take down the internet in 30 minutes, has taken a position at the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. Mudge will take a position as program manager in mid-March within the Strategic Technology Office at DARPA. Mudge will be in charge of seeking out and funding small startups and boutiques who are most likely to create revolutionary new technology to help the U.S. defend its cyber borders. HNN was lucky enough to meet up with Mudge at ShmooCon last weekend, and we asked him a few questions about his new position. So I'm here with the famous hacker Mudge. And Mudge, you're here at ShmooCon.
So if you've ever seen those quotes, you know, a senior DoD official, yeah, that might just be me soon.
Senior DoD official. Now, your past would not suggest someone who has a government track as a career choice. How do you think that works, going from the person who, quote, led the loft to a senior DoD official?
Well, I'm not so sure the past really goes against that. If you recall, back in those loft days, we were invited down to testify to the Senate. We did have relations with the National Security Council and the White House, and we were one of the first groups to kind of reach out and say, we will work with you, because we wanted to help fix and change and positively influence and kind of wake them up, because they just thought that hackers were these evil people who needed to be thrown in jail, and that was kind of the media mystique and misinterpretation.
So you don't see it as a sellout then?
No.
Since it's government, there's no money involved.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's definitely a pay cut, but so I decided to take the opportunity, and I've accepted a position at DARPA as a program manager in the Strategic Technologies Office.
Now, are they still going to call you Mudge?
Well, I'm lobbying for Mudge at DARPA.mil.
Mudge at DARPA.mil. So you really have Mudge on the business card?
Well, I have it on my current business cards because I'm still over at BBN as the Technical Director of National Intelligence Research and Applications. DARPA was always kind of like this. It was kind of like what the Loft was. I mean, it's this, we want to do research in areas that are going to pay off down the road. We want to do far-fetched research. We want to really make a difference and impact things, and we're willing to go down technologically risky areas that might not pay off, but if they do, can be game-changing down the road.
So that's my question. So you're going to actually see this as sort of an extension of the original Loft mission?
Yeah.
Of sort of researching cool underground things,
yep,
and bringing them to light and letting everybody see them.
Yeah, giving everybody a chance to really capitalize and really exploit and take advantage of the breakthroughs, some of the reverse engineering stuff that's going on, some of the defensive tactics. I mean, you look in this community, we've got a lot of really bright folks, many of which working at small businesses. So
it's the same as Loft, but with money.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right, well, great. This has been Space Rogue and Mudge at ShmooCon as Mudge goes on to working at the government.
Happy hacking.
Watch for the rest of our interview with Mudge in an upcoming episode of Behind the Firewall, when we talk not only with Mudge, but several other ShmooCon attendees as well. After being apprehended in Mexico last year and once appearing on America's Most Wanted, Edwin Andrew Pena has pleaded guilty to wire fraud and unauthorized access to a protected computer. The charges claim that Pena defrauded long-distance telephone companies out of $1.4 million in an elaborate voice-over-IP scam. Pena was arrested in 2006 with his partner in crime, Robert Moore, after the pair would sell wholesale voice-over-IP services at extremely discounted rates and then would route the traffic over compromised telephone company networks. The pair would gain access to the networks, usually by misconfigured Cisco routers with default passwords. Moore once claimed that it was so easy, a caveman could do it. Moore was sentenced to 18 months back in 2006 and has already served his time. He claims that Pena paid him only $20,000 to do the break-ins. Pena, on the other hand, used much of his ill-gotten gains on Miami real estate, a Sea Raymer cruiser boat, and collecting BMWs like this pimped-out yellow M3. Sweet. Pena faces a maximum of 25 years in federal prison and fines of at least $500,000. His sentencing is scheduled for May. The telephone companies that were so easy to breach were, unfortunately, not named in the complaint. Payroll processing firm Ceridian Corp. has admitted in letters to customers that its payroll processing product, PowerPay, was breached by unknown attackers back at the end of December. The breach affects 27,000 employees working at 1,900 companies nationwide. This is the second security breach at Ceridian in the last 3 years. In 2007, an ex-employee walked out with valuable financial information. Ceridian has called in the FBI to investigate this attack and has only just now, a month after the attack, mailed out rather long-winded and confusing letters to notify the affected people. The law says they have to notify people, but it doesn't say anything about making the letters easy to understand. ShmooCon was last weekend during the snowpocalypse that was Washington, D.C., but despite the snow, there were some very interesting talks. Tyler Shields from Veracode talked about just how insecure the Blackberries really are. Trevor Hawthorne talked about tracking iPhones through GPS, and Cadet Wygand showed us how to build your own UAV on the cheap. HNN was there and grabbed a lot of footage, including an interview with Cadet Wygand and his home-built UAV. Watch for it in an upcoming episode of Behind the Firewall, right here on the Hacker News Network. We'll be back with more HNNCast right after these messages.
Hi, I'm Sec Barbie, and you're watching the Hacker News Network.